Hello, and welcome to Text for Nothing Conversations with Poets. The idea of the show is to have a relaxed conversation with poets about their work and their interest, just two people talking about things they find important and meaningful. Since we have a limited amount of time, I would like to invite our viewers to check the website textfornothingtv.com that you can see at the bottom of your screen, where you'll be able to find links to the guest's personal website, online journals where her poems, translations, and essays have appeared, as well as other links to readings and interviews. You can also see the show there. Tonight I am very happy to have Chloe Garcia Roberts as my guest. She is a poet, a translator, and a critic. Welcome and thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
To get things started, in your book of poems, The Reveal, there are multiple references to what I see as an in-between space. In that book, the reader finds edges, borders, surfaces, exteriorities. Sometimes these take the shape of the surface of water and the reflections we can see there. Sometimes they are glass surfaces or mirrors where the subject doubles. And yet, the attention of the reader, rather my attention, I find myself concentrating in the space in between the different surfaces. And between the reflection and the reflected. Is this something you had in mind when you were writing the poems, or can you elaborate a little bit about this space?
In that space, I think, is my soul. I am definitely something that I've been turning to and realizing more and more is that I've always been kind of this bifurcated person.
Right.
Since I was a child, kind of growing up between two countries, two languages, two people that never lived in this, or only for a few years lived in the same country. I felt like I always knew I wanted to be a translator because it was something that I was born doing.
Right.
And it's something that feels completely natural to me. And so, of course, when I'm writing and expressing myself, those are the spaces that I want to shine more light on.
Right.
And then I don't think I will ever reach the end of wanting to understand that space in
Right.
between.
Well, you have that beautiful essay, The Coyote.
Oh, I'm glad you read that.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Thank you.
And so that is exactly that.
Yeah.
The creature that inhabits that space in the imagination.
Yes.
And you sort of move it from personal to mythological, even political sort of like instances of that image.
It's only been recently that I've been able to turn and look and embrace that about myself. For so long I felt less than in on either side, and now I just feel kind of exhilarated about recognizing my superpowers of being in between.
Right. So that is something that it gets, or at least to me, was very clear. No, actually, strike out. It's not clear. Clarity is not part of it, because it's part of a darkness, part of the obscurity.
Yeah.
There are several instances where you're talking about shining light or that possum coming out of the darkness,
Yeah.
which is a wonderful image, but things are behind it.
Yes.
The darkness is coming out of that. So the in-between is not necessarily, it's not like you're shining light on it, but you are drawing attention into that,
Yes.
the two poles, that it's not just the beginning and the end or the origin and destiny, but that in-between spaces.
Yeah. I remember reading actually a capture narrative a long time ago, where a woman was talking about when she was captured by a Native American tribe in the 19th century, and she was talking that they told her that she, if she wanted to be able to see in the darkness, because she was complaining about not being able to see anything as they were fleeing, she needed to look at things out of the corner of her eye, and that her peripheral vision was stronger than her direct
right.
vision. And I feel like I'm trying to use that
Yeah, absolutely.
in my poetry
Yes,
and in my writing.
Even you have and I have here.
That's always stuck with me. That.
Yeah, I remember seeing. I remember having. There's a title of one of your poems. There's something like beginning with an edge. I have your book right here.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm sure it will.
Is
pop,
the
that will
yeah?
pop up
And it makes a lot of sense.
Because it was like, okay, this is a way, this is a technique I can use psychologically in my own life.
Exactly. It says like in the first poem, it's called "In order to see a truth in darkness," and then the first line is "Listen for its edge." Mm-hmm. So that is because I remember reading that anecdote somewhere in an interview or. And that makes, like, immediately I read that before the second reading of the book, and that just gave me that, that peripheral, paying attention to what is not necessarily in front of you, but something that you can see out of a glimpse.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fascinating, the way that your reading sort of like really sort of fed your writing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're inseparable.
Right, yeah, for me too. Yeah. And so what is so what have you been working on after that? The reveal came out in 2015.
Yes.
And so creatively, because you're very active as a translator.
Yes.
But creatively, not that translate is not creative. I didn't mean it like that. But your
different.
own. Yeah, it's different. What is your projects? What are your projects? What are you working on?
Yeah, well, definitely that theme of being bifurcated is true also in my writing, and I felt that I needed to turn to translation for a little bit. I felt very cleaned out by the reveal. It was years and years and years of work, and then editing with a wonderful editor, and the whole process. I didn't have anything left. That just wiped the slate clean with poetry. So I turned and worked on another project that I had ongoing, which was classical Chinese translation of a 9th century poet, Li Shangyin. And as I was doing that, it was classical Chinese, so that requires a lot of dictionary work. So not only dictionaries in the classical Chinese, dictionaries in the modern Chinese, dictionaries in the modern English, then going back to Old English and kind of, working between them. I just had these notebooks of notes of all the different connections in English that are underground, if you will, that we no longer use.
Right.
And they started to fascinate me. And I started to feel like perhaps I could explain episodes of my own life following these underground channels of the English language. And sometimes Spanish. Sometimes I bring Spanish into it.
Right.
So I'm writing this series of essays using all of that material from the translation. So each cycle, translation, writing, feeds each other.
Right.
Like a field, crop rotation.
Oh, right. Yeah, no, that makes total sense. Yeah.
So now I'm back to writing. I just finished this whole translation cycle, and now I'm kind of more back to writing, but keeping my feelers out in translation. And
right.
I'll make that pivot again, probably sometime in the future.
Oh, that's a good rhythm to have.
Yeah.
Sometimes I try to do everything at once. Like I also translate, write poetry, and I write essays. Sometimes I want to do somehow organize my life to do the three things at once.
Yeah.
And it's just not good. It's not a good system.
Well,
I always get overwhelmed.
Yeah, I kind of feel like using translation is kind of a great hack to get back up to speed with your own writing.
Right.
I find it gets me there so much faster than if I was just sitting there in front of a blank page, waiting for the muse to strike.
So now you're working also, you have this idea about a project about Mexico.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about what that's about, how it came about?
Yeah, well, a little bit of this kind of turning and facing this in-betweenness and kind of reveling it and accepting it and examining it has required that I turn back to Mexico.
Right.
And I turned back to my family. And kind of as I have been doing that, I found out this story about my great-grandfather, who was an amazing historian and writer himself. And I kind of started following that thread of looking at his work. His papers are held at the University of Austin, and I went and spent some time with those. And I'm kind of using him as a channel to trace my way back to Mexico City and the role that city played for me, the role that it played for him. He was from Zacatecas, but then kind of moved there as he became kind of connected to the intellectual world in Mexico City. It's still exciting and amorphous, and I don't know. My next plan is to do one of those walks where you can walk the entire original island.
Oh, yeah.
Of Mexico City, and I don't know. I don't know where it's leading me, but it is leading me on.
Right. So you go back there every year.
Yes, I try to go back at least once a year.
Right. And what do you do when you're there? Like, what do you have any?
I mean, I have this feeling when I get off the plane there and I smell the airport and I'm back there that a certain part of like an eye inside of me opens.
Right.
That's closed here.
Right.
And I'm a little addicted to that. And at the same time, there's an eye that opens here.
Yeah.
In the States that, I also need to feed. What do I do there? I visit family. I visit family.
Right.
I spend a lot of just quiet time with my family. And I eat.
Right.
And I just walk and see the same places. I trace my memories over and over again.
Yeah.
That's really important that I do that. That's like it's like a pilgrimage.
Right.
And then I can still do that there, which is so amazing in this huge metropolis that I will never know. I will never know it.
Oh no, it's just
that I can also physically know. I mean, I can dream it. I can dream my way through it.
Right.
And I'm fascinated by that. Because the only other city that's like on that level that I've known is New York. And I was thinking about it today. New York spits you out like our body spits out splinters.
Right.
I mean, you're gone for a year and you can't find your way around anymore. It's new places. It's totally different. And I know that Mexico City is changing.
Yeah.
But it's like there's a stillness inside of it.
Right.
That, I don't know. I just want to keep looking at it.
Right. I'm from Mexico City, and I usually go to the same places as well.
Yeah.
I always go to Coyoacan. I always go to La Condesa.
Yeah.
Have friends in Colonia Roma. I always go to the same taqueria.
Yeah.
Sometimes even just off the plane, I just drive there.
Yeah.
It's my first stop.
Yeah.
To have tacos al pastor, which is one of the most magical things.
Yes.
And talk about an in between.
Yeah.
A Lebanese-Mexican combination is absolutely perfect.
Yes. Yeah. And I never try to do that here.
Right.
I never try to recreate that here. So there's not because it never can happen.
No. I found a few things, but I don't usually...
Yeah.
I don't really try to look for that here.
Yeah.
There's different things and there's a different experience, but I don't try exactly. The recreation is not...
Yeah.
I like doing other things here.
Yes.
But in Mexico City, that is family and friends.
Yeah.
Certain museums.
Yes.
And new museums, because that is the art scene there is pretty intense.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm just starting to kind of go beyond the borders of my family there.
Right.
And know people professionally down there. And that's really exciting as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
And so and when you like bookstores, do you go to bookstores?
Oh yes.
Because that is another of my obsessions.
Oh yes.
Um,
Wonderful bookstores there. Although I hate the fact that books are shrink wrapped down there. And
I know.
I kind of like
It's
listen
such a
to
waste.
them, like, like, will I love this? Will I not love it? You can only ask them to open so many
Yeah,
for you.
and they get annoyed.
Yeah.
Yeah, they get annoyed. That was they shrink wrap up everything, and so everything is
Yeah.
really crisp and new.
Yeah.
But you don't if you don't know the book, if you don't know the author, you don't.
Yeah.
It's like, and you don't want to ask for the 10th time to open.
Yes.
So,
I go to Gandhi every time, and I go to, there's an El Pendulo
right.
just very near to my father's house, and I go there several times on every trip.
Right. Yeah, I try to limit my visits because then I buy too much, and that is the.
But now that there's no Schopenhauer here, it's hard to get.
Oh yeah. Well, that was expensive.
Yes,
I did get some, yeah, but it was wonderful.
Yeah.
It was wonderful. I used to just go there and browse.
Yeah.
It was Schoenhof's on was it Mount Auburn, right?
Yeah.
No,
Or I always mix up Mount Auburn and Brattle.
because they're right there.
Yes.
Yeah, I
I don't have that
Yeah.
type of intelligence.
Right. Yeah, no, it's a complicated. So you're but in this project about Mexico City, what is it is in a sort of preliminary stage. You're gathering material, but what is it that you're do you envision anything in particular, like a format? It's not going to be poetry. It's going to be prose.
It's going to be prose.
Right.
Well, I think it's going to be about various incarnations of the encounter that happens in the true history of the conquest of New Spain.
Right.
And then all these kind of onion skins of other encounters reverberating out through my family to me.
Oh, cool.
I think.
Yeah, you used the word when we met earlier. We used the word palimpsest.
Yes, palimpsest is, I think, going to be my pathway in.
Right.
I'm fascinated by the fact that Mexico City is a
palimpsest.
It is a palimpsest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not just culturally, but geographically.
Right.
And then I also feel like I'm a bit of a palimpsest.
Right.
And I think my great grandfather, going in through him, he was kind of key in bringing forth the palimpsest of the true history of the conquest of New Spain, bringing the actual document
Right.
back to the surface through the kind of false document
Right.
that had been there.
And the thing, the true history is one of the text that in Spanish, when you're reading it as a Spanish reader, and in school you read the letters from Cortés to the king, so all these things, and they're also well, it's a very old, ornate, refined Spanish.
Yes.
But with Bernal, the thing is that he is a very direct, almost modern writer.
Yes.
And it's so easy to read, and it's so direct
Yeah.
that it's a wonderful read, even like for anyone.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I liked. I remember from when back then when I was in high school, and you had to read those things.
Yeah.
You were like, finally, somebody like
Yeah, you can take it off the shelf and read it.
Yeah.
I remember reading that Octavia Paz, I think, called it the first Latin American novel.
Right. Right.
And it reads like that.
Yeah.
Um,
There's also HD has that. Now you're talking about reincarnations. HD has that novel Palimpsest,
yes.
which is absolutely gorgeous. It's one of
Yes.
my favorite
Oh,
things.
It is.
So that is like different layers, different existences, and different times and stories.
Yeah, I think it'll be a series of layers. I'm still kind of feeling it out. I think I'll probably start by just writing about the book
Right.
and the role that it's had in my life.
Right.
and coming around to it.
Yeah, that's a
and
wonderful
we'll see.
discovery.
Yeah, yeah.
What other books have had that kind of, not necessarily the same impact, but books that have had an impact in your life? Like you talked about the narrative, um, the captive narrative, when you got that idea of looking at the peripheral vision that basically adapted as a part of your poetics.
Yes.
And now you have this book that is also, even though it comes from a family sort of connection, but is also a text, is
Yeah.
the written word. What other books are like throughout that you can think about throughout your life that have had some impact?
Well, I think two of the most important books to me are Roget's Thesaurus and the King James Bible. I just feel like they are infinite wells of language. And I can always return to them, and it feels like being clued into a code
Right.
that I can use in my work. I would also say mythology has been very important to me. The Aeneid has been very important to me. I'm working on an essay about Dido right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean those are really the sources that I'll go back to.
Always go back to.
Yeah, and maybe you'll see that work, and maybe you won't in the finished product.
Right.
They're there.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any book I love as much as the Thesaurus.
Why?
Because it always surprises me that all of these connections. I mean, well, there's the OED, but I think this is Thesaurus because it's actually a map showing you connections between words and constellations of words that you know, that you perhaps perceive, and that you have no idea
Right.
that they existed.
Yeah.
And it's infinite. You can go infinite in the English language
Right.
in finding those connections.
Yeah.
And that was the work that I did for the classical Chinese translation, was just doing that in two different languages, just diving down over and over again into these wells. And what I continue to bring up will be my writing.
Right. Yeah, I didn't have that connection to Spanish when I lived in Mexico, and then I started working on a translation of Robert Duncan, and he's the one that was fascinated by dictionaries.
Yes,
and the
word work.
connections of words and
Yeah.
and those clusters and constellations.
Yes.
Which now I can't remember which dictionary online. If you
Yes.
if you do the paid version, you can see a
Yes.
really cool sort of constellation and
Yes.
like a tree, and so and then I went back and I was like, what happens in Spanish?
Yeah.
Is not as common as in English. So you used to be able to go into the Diccionario de la Real Academia
Yes.
online, and you had
Yes.
the facsimiles
Yes.
all the way back, and I started doing that.
Yeah.
And just to find out where words came from.
Yeah.
Then the Corominas, the dictionary of etymology. But usually you can get the short version, not the 4 volumes.
Yes.
But it's not something that people do as much as they do
Yeah.
in English. I don't know what there's more words in English that
Come from all these different places.
come from different places, and they're more specific. In Spanish is not necessarily the same. The classification or clarification comes with more words, adding more words.
Yes.
Try to explain yourself.
But there's all the verbs.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just different.
Oh yeah, it's totally different.
Yeah.
But the exploration of languages is not. I find it very different the way people explore Spanish and the way they do English.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting.
My education is not complete in Spanish, whereas I feel like it is in English. Not
Right.
not that I can't always still learn,
Right.
but I've hit a peak, I think.
Right.
I don't mean that I mean that I am who I am now
Yeah. Yeah.
in English. in Spanish, strangely, I'm not. I'm not who I am yet.
Right.
So it's still always kind of ahead of me. I'm still, like I said before, I'm a puppy.
Yeah. You get all the different things. And different,
Yeah. I'm just moving past, the insularity of the house.
Right. Because that's the other thing. Like depends on the house, the family, the background, the neighborhood.
Yes.
Mexico City in itself, and then you move away from. And different accents, different. Just like in any other country, has a very specific vocabulary and way of referring to things.
Yeah. So when I do translation from Spanish, I do a lot of dictionary work as well with that, and do try to go back a little bit.
Yeah, I've been doing that because I took it from Duncan.
Yeah.
And now my translation of Duncan is
I can't wait to read that.
based on sort of I make decisions that it have like more implications.
Yeah.
That the weight of the word is a lot more charged.
Yeah.
That is not something that I would have decided before I started reading Duncan.
Yeah.
Okay, unfortunately our time is up.
Oh.
So thank you, Chloe, so much. It's a pleasure to
Thank you.
meet you and to have a chat with you. This has been Text for Nothing, Conversations with Poets. And my guest tonight was Chloe Garcia Roberts. And I will see you in 4 weeks. Thank you so much. I think the mic's still on, so.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
That was fun.
It was great. It was great. Thank you so much. Yeah, I had all these things that I wanted to.
It does go by fast.
But it's